Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast. I've got the first episode here that we're recording in 2026. I'm really excited to have, uh, one of our awesome Pebble users, super active investor, and has or is going to really share with you how he's adapted to the changing market, and what he's getting away from and what he's focused on. And clearly, it's becoming very fruitful for him. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode here with Dan Haberkost, who's going to share a little bit about what he's doing in the past year and the upcoming year in 2026. All right, we've got Dan. Dan, how you been doing?
I'm good, Jesse. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I was just mentioning to you prior hopping on this recording here, it's been over a year since we caught up. And I know you are super actively busy with your land business. I think you also do a little bit of coaching as well, or is that a major part of what you do as well, or
No, no, it's
no?
not.
Okay.
I've a few people here and there over the years, but no, it's not a focus.
Okay, cool. Well, I'd love to see how things are going. The last episode, if you guys want to watch it, it's episode 107 I had with Dan, and one of the really cool things we talked about was like the creative marketing and the marketing
Mhm.
messaging on there. I think we titled it like "Quick Cash Close" is
Yeah,
like killing marketing or something like that, because it
yeah,
was just like such a common message. And I'd love to talk a little bit about what marketing also looks like. But just in general, Dan, how have things been for you? We're now in early 2026 when we're
mhm.
recording this. This is Q1. How has 2025 been?
Yeah. So I think the last time we spoke was probably early 24, and the biggest change for me was really towards the end of that year. Things stayed pretty hot everywhere I was doing business through most of 24, and then at
Yeah.
the end, it really slowed down, specifically in Florida. And so, here we are, like you said, early 26. I still have cash stuck in some deals in Florida. We've mostly stopped marketing there. I mean, I have friends that are still doing well there, but it's
Mhm.
much slower on this dispo side generally, and it's still very competitive on the acquisition side. So we have continued to focus then on the Carolinas and Colorado almost entirely, which isn't new. It's just getting rid of Florida was new. So we pretty much pulled out of Florida entirely last year beyond the remaining lots I have there.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, the other, I don't want to call it a pivot, but change would be focusing more on large rural acreage, which we'd already been doing, but the proportion of small infill lots relative to large lots has shifted heavily towards the large lots because in many places builders are struggling to sell their inventory. They're not as hungry
Mm.
for new lots. And so it's been slower selling the infill again in most places. You can always find exceptions. So I'd say the biggest change is targeting more larger properties, doing subdivides, and doing a lot of distressed title of one kind or another. Nothing extreme, but probates and quiet titles and
Yeah.
weird ownership scenarios. We closed a really nice one last month where we had to get access from the neighbors, stuff like that.
That's interesting. So to make a decision here to pull out of a market like Florida, um, how do you make up for that? Or was it already turning down that it wasn't a big difference? And what other sort of major changes? Was there changing in staff? Yeah, and the end result, was that something that you guys enjoyed?
Yeah, it was in hindsight, it sounds very planned and straightforward, but as things are actually happening, oftentimes it's more just adapting to what you're seeing on a weekly or monthly basis. And so it was slow and steady where the returns I just wasn't getting them on our marketing like I had been. And then the Carolinas, we were still selling things quickly and they're producing, and I see the demand still strong, and I see that lots are selling like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a slow transition of just not getting the same results in Florida that we had. And then to your other question, yeah, I've had some staff turnover, but I mean, I think you interviewed Daniel on your show, my main acquisition guy, and we have a couple other people on the team. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we've kept it pretty lean and efficient, and just doing more of the same, really, but just larger pieces of land, and then more of these, subdivide and sell, and selling more on terms as well. That's something that
Mm.
has been really valuable the last 12 to 18 months. So that's created a better pool of recurring revenue now that land is generally slower to sell than it was, in the ridiculous frenzy of 20 through 23.
And then with what you have remaining in Florida, are you doing anything specific or tactically to offload those, or are you just going to sit on them for a while to kind of wait for things to change? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is something that's evolving, and we're working on improving our dispo process because, frankly, we got lazy there with what was going on for a number of years. So beyond just posting all over Facebook and the groups, I mean, that alone has gotten us some sold that have been sitting on the MLS. Offering financing is helping, but yeah, a few of them are just still sitting, and we just haven't been able to move them yet. But I'm sure we will eventually. It's not the first time I've had this happen.
Right, right. Okay. And
Mhm.
so I'm still interested in this, to make a decision to pull out. It wasn't, I mean, it probably seemed natural at that state of time. And again, you sort of reacting to the things to the market itself.
Mhm.
Uh, did you sort of ever think about expanding beyond the Carolinas and Colorado? Or are you set focused on those areas?
For now, we're pretty focused on those areas. We've dabbled in other markets. People have submitted deals to us to fund, and we've done that in other markets. But
Mm,
I mean, those three states, that's a large swath of land, right? There's many, many parcels and many tracts that are there to be bought and cut up. So for now, that's where I'm focusing. I don't want to get spread too thin. It's
mm,
so easy to run into new problems that you don't know till you know when you go too many different places. And
yeah.
North and South Carolina have pretty much the same due diligence criteria. So
Mm,
in my mind, I think of those as one area. I mean, obviously, again, huge area, different counties, but you run into kind of the same things. And then Colorado often has its own set of challenges. So I feel very competent in those areas. I know large swaths of all three states at this point. So for now, we're really focused there almost entirely.
And so you're focusing on those large rural acreages,
Hmm.
dealing with more distressed properties. You're probably looking at longer deal cycles when you're
Hmm.
sort of doing things like subdivides. Have you been doing that for a while? And anything you sort of learned along the way, in the last past year with that?
Yeah, quite a bit. I actually, through my podcast that I host with Mason, got in touch with a guy who'd been in the business for a very long time and who'd done it at a much much larger scale than anyone else I've ever actually met. And so he's become kind of a mentor. And I think just the value of long term amortization schedules and selling on terms has really been drilled into my head from
Mm,
him, and I'm seeing that even though you don't get that quick hit of a big wire hitting your account. Looking at these amortization schedules and what you end up getting out of each deal, I mean, it's pretty profitable. I'll say that. And so that's one thing that's really been drilled in my head. And then also
mm,
just the simplicity of taking these large pieces of land, splitting them up, getting the higher price per acre, and pairing that with bank financing. So we bought 640 acres last year in Colorado, bought it on the market, got it for
yeah.
410. Yeah, it's pretty far east, pretty rural, and refinanced it at 80%. And so we're all in, I want to say like 680 per acre, something like that. And we're selling them at 1700 per acre at 12%
Wow.
interest. And we have
Wow.
bank financing, right? So there's very little cash still in that. I think our interest rate is right around 7%. So there's an arbitrage there between the debt we're getting and then the debt we're selling at. And so that strategy of refinancing, or if you can get owner financing, that's another way to do it. And getting most or all your capital back and then selling and having the partial releases as you go. That's new to me. And that's been very much a light bulb moment because then you're less capital constrained and then the margins are just fantastic. It's a much longer cycle doing it that way.
Right.
Hmm.
Sounds like you guys doing a lot of experimenting and figuring things out and doing different kind of deals. I don't know, has that always been with you guys? Let's say prior before we first chatted.
For the first, what would it be, 5, almost 6 years I was in the business, it was a heavy focus on infill with a
Right.
small amount of the rural acreage. And so it more was a result of the market changing in again, most places where most builders were stuck with a lot of inventory and selling the infill lots was harder, where at the same time, at least where we were doing business, it was still very difficult to get good deals. And so all right, the sales side is slowing down, prices are coming down in a lot of places, and seller expectations are still sky high. That's not
Yeah.
a great pairing. It's not impossible, but there are easier avenues to making money. So I think it was more a result of the market than anything else.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, you mentioned your podcast with Mason. Can you just share that right now? I think people, I don't want to forget to mention that, but can you tell, while I just sort of interrupt this, where can they sort of listen to your podcast and learn a little bit about what you guys are up to?
Yeah, so it's the Big Picture Blueprint, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We post all the videos on YouTube as well. And it's all things real estate. We do a lot of land focused shows, but even if we have people on from different niches, we'll still kind of pull out the overarching points that are applicable to land businesses. And it's very much a 201 show, not a 101. So yeah, check it out. We've been doing that for a few years. It's been very, very productive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I wanted to dive into this a little bit with the marketing side and acquisition. Uh,
Hmm.
last time we chatted, the headline was like "Quick Cash Close was killing
Hmm.
marketing." Now that marketing, gosh, I don't know whether to say it's more saturated or less saturated. But what are the new buzzwords and things that you are avoiding or you're seeing recently? Is there anything new?
Honestly, not really. The same principles apply. The avatar has not changed. In fact, having done, I mean, I don't remember exactly when we spoke, but at least 100 to 200 more deals since the last time we spoke. It's just been reinforced. Like we got a distressed seller last year that needed money quickly, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this is the first time I think I've ever seen this." Right? Like, because even the tax sale properties, a lot of times when we get a property that's got tax liens on it, it's not their home. They're indifferent about it. They thought they were going to lose it most of the time. So to find an actual distressed seller is rare unless you're finding very particular lists.
Yeah,
And so just more of the same, but getting better and better. I love Alex Hormozzi's framework of the more, better, new. Check that out if you haven't. Anyone listening, just Google it. And so working on doing more and better as opposed to doing anything new, and we've continued to refine all of our marketing so it's more and more specific, and it shows that we have local knowledge, we have experience, and we will close. We will close every time. And that gets us people to call and then ultimately deals all the time. We have postcards that we've customized to the point of, being focused on specific neighborhoods with
yeah,
pictures of lots we've bought there, pictures of lots, at least that we bought in the county, and that's been really, really valuable. You've got to have a postcard or marketing copy, whatever you're sending, whether it's mailers or postcards, et cetera, that shows them, hey, you aren't just some person in an office, 4 states away that has no idea what they're doing. You're a local expert that knows the area, that knows, ideally it's street by street, which of course isn't always feasible. Um, and you're actually going to make good on your offers because so many people, especially in the hot parts of the country, have had their time wasted over and over and over again. It's funny. This morning, a wholesaler reached out to me. He got our number somewhere, and he was
yeah.
trying to sell lots in Pueblo West, Colorado, which is the place I've been doing business longest. So it's almost 8 years now. And so that place I actually know street by street. And number one, he doesn't know that water taps just went up $20,000. So land has been very devalued. Number two, he sends me a couple lots, and I just laughed because I know the sellers' names because I had been trying
Uh-huh.
to buy them, and he's way too high. And so that's a perfect example. Those sellers are going to have their time wasted by him. He's not going to
Mm.
close. And they would be a great person for me to call in a few months and say, hey, I know you've gotten your time wasted over and over again. Are you ready to actually have an offer that will go through and close? Right. And so legitimacy is at the top of a lot of these people's mind because they've had their time wasted so much.
Does that mean you spend a lot of time upfront segmenting these lists and these areas and really trying to hone in on some sort of marketing messaging?
Unfortunately, yes, it's very tedious. A good VA goes a long way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of upfront work that goes into it. It's not perfect. We kind of do a mix where I have more generic ones going out, but then I'll spend a little more both on the data and the marketing material for some really targeted campaigns. There was one little neighborhood in North Carolina last year where prices kind of doubled overnight,
Wow.
and so we got like 10 deals in there in a month or two. and it had really specific postcards with pictures of lots we purchased and the neighborhood, everything customized for this tiny little neighborhood. And so, to answer your question, yes, oftentimes there's a lot of work up front to get that specific.
I I don't know if there's anything you're comfortable sharing, but like
Mm.
when you're talking like specific, can you give us an
Okay.
example? Maybe you don't have to drill in too specific. You want to keep things
Yeah.
private, but is there, help us understand like how specific are we getting here? And like, and then like the more generic, like how
Mhm.
generic are you talking about? Like there's levels to this. So I'd love to learn, what is
Yeah.
specific and what does generic look like as an example.
Couple examples. So if you're doing business in your backyard, anything that you can do to show you're a local is super helpful. So like, I don't anymore, but I lived in Colorado Springs for a long time. That's where the business started. And of course, the company's front range land, which anyone in Colorado resonates with that. And so we
Right.
have these Colorado mailers with a picture of a really popular hike looking out up at Pikes Peak. And that's the background of the postcard. And then it talks about property taxes and all the normal copy,
Oh,
but then it mentions, "Hey, we're a local company founded in Colorado Springs. Here's a picture at the top of the incline," which people in Colorado know what that means. If you wanna sell to a local company that can close, that knows the area, call us. So that's an example of a local one. I have
yeah.
others where there's specific subdivisions where the postcard has photos as the background of lots we've bought and the street name and say, "Hey, we just bought a property on X street. We're looking for more lots in XYZ neighborhood. Call us. We'll close." Or, "Hey, we bought 8 lots here in the last 30 days. If you want a certainty of closure, call us. We're serious." Stuff like that works very well. To your other question about more generic, uh, some of our lists are targeted for really large properties that are prime for subdividing. And it's hard to get that perfect, but generally they're just above a certain acreage threshold. And so
Mm,
one of those that's worked really well, one of my best campaigns last year was just a 75-acre property we bought as the background of the postcard. Just a big arrow, 75 acres we just bought in whatever county it was. Uh, Interested in selling your ranch or something like that, and then all the same sort of copy, but that's the background. And there's that, in theory, proof of experience. Hey, we just bought 75 acres, it's just normal for us. We'll buy yours too.
right. Right. I think I know the answer to this, but well, maybe I don't. What do you think is more important? Some I call it sort of like tactfulness personalization, where
Mhm.
maybe you're using a real pen or like some sort of a personalized stamp or something like if you had to choose one versus messaging, like showing the area, showing you've purchased and sold, properties in the same subdivision.
Mhm.
If you had to choose one, what is more important to you guys?
Well, it depends a little bit if you're doing postcards or letters. Because just think about yourself, right? When I get a letter in the mail, if it looks generic, I'll just rip it up right away.
Yeah.
Whereas it's hard not to look at a postcard if it's eye catching, and ours are very eye catching. So
Yeah.
I prefer the postcards because they're
Me
cheaper
too.
and they still catch people's attention. And then
Yep.
focusing on the legitimacy copy so it stands out.
Hmm.
Sending letters, I still intersperse letters here and there. But I have found if people open it anticipating that it's like a friend sending them a letter or something, we don't get a great response. And I mean, if anyone's
True.
listening and got counterpoints to that, let me know. But I had someone actually handwrite a whole bunch of colorful envelopes. I mean, hand
Uh-huh.
address, not handwrite the letters, but hand address them. Response was terrible. I tried,
Yeah.
I tried some sort of specialized letters that look like party invitations last year.
Yeah.
Response wasn't any better than postcards. So I don't know. I've had a good response to just white envelopes with
Yeah.
handwritten. A buddy of mine has a company that does that, and so I've used
Mm,
those over and over again. And those have always worked pretty well, but I don't think they work twice as well as just the 60 whatever cent postcards, the six
yeah.
by nine postcards. And so most of the time we're just sticking with those postcards.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And for those that are listening, I mean, if you want to get into Pebble and, see how easy it is to personalize something and bring it, like my wife loves using Canva. She runs a nail
Hmm.
salon, and you know, I'd love to, for whoever is listening and wants to hop on a call with me and see how you can highly personalize your thing using something as easy as Canva and get personalized map on there, which we can pull that image for you guys for free. Head over to pebblearia.com/demo, hop on a call with me. We can do it together, a work along session. Always excited. The work, like, and this is, this is for the people that are getting started here. I see a lot of people just come in and just send something generic, and it's like,
Mhm.
you got to take the time up front and do some personalization, get to know the area. And I think a lot of it you could probably figure out, how to personalize, just by spending a day on it. So again, if you guys are interested, head over to that site, pebblearia.com/demo. Happy to work through that with you. Open a free account, we can get that out. Okay, I want to talk a little bit outside of a direct mail, and let's talk about cold calling. I've had Daniel on the show. He's awesome. I don't
Mhm.
know if you guys still work with him, but
Oh yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. So then that means cold calling is also part of that for you guys. Is that still a major channel for you guys?
Mail's still number one, but cold calling, we've been doing that since 21, and that has reliably added, a few leads and a few deals on top of our cold calling campaign, or excuse me, our mailing campaigns. And
Yeah.
especially in areas we want more deals. There's just a portion of people that never respond to the mail. And so you cold call them and you get a few new leads that way. It just sprinkles on top, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's still working. It is harder being that we are focused on more rural acreage that is less homogeneous, right? When we were more focused on subdivisions and there's 10,000 almost identical lots, it was very easy to say, hey, Jesse, we just bought 123 Main Street for 20. We can pay the same for years. Now it's a little more tedious because rarely can we come up with any real number on the phone.
Mm,
But it's still effective, and we again spend time up front. I have my VA separate out the list so that it's at least county specific, and that helps. But
yeah.
again, it is more tedious when we're not doing infill as much. But it works.
It's great. I want to know, where'd you find your guy, Daniel?
Uh, I actually Mason referred me to him. He uh
Oh, okay.
he uh, was younger, but in the same fraternity, I guess, as Mason, and referred me to him
Ah,
through that. And it's
got
almost
you.
2 years that he's been on the team. He's doing great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. I want to talk about something that is a little bit more recent.
Hmm.
I love sort of pulling out an example and some of the learning lessons, and maybe there isn't, or something unique you did with it. You had a closing on a 93 acre here. Walk us through that, and was there any sort of new lessons learned here, or maybe some things that you already knew that maybe most people listening aren't aware about?
Sure. So, 93 acres. This is in South Carolina, and the kicker was it didn't have legal access; it had physical access. And so the
Oh,
seller was pretty straightforward. They had inherited a bunch of land; they'd already sold a lot of it off. And we looked at suing for access and talking to the attorney because it would be fairly easy to do in the owner's name, but then that's legally tricky to pay for it in someone else's name, and they didn't want to do the lawsuit, and then it was risky to close in our name and then do the suit because we potentially wouldn't get it. So we were determined to figure out how to get a neighbor to sign off before closing, and sent lots of letters, calls, nothing, no success. And then eventually, I just wanted someone to knock on his door. The one in particular had the best point of access, and our realtor we were using was out of town, so I hired a process server actually to go knock on this guy's door. And I made it clear, hey, this is non-confrontational. Just give him this letter and be really friendly. And it worked. And he called us and he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you guys access." Great, great. So again, physical access is already there going through his property. Legal
yes.
access is not. So we got him to sign off on the access easement. It took a few appointments. He didn't show up to the first one. He did show up to the second one. And after 4 months, we closed that in December for 150. Comps are four-ish an acre, so we listed it at 400. And
Wow.
hey, look, anyone listening to this show that has any experience will scoff. Listing something doesn't mean anything. So I'm very confident, though, that we will sell it at least at 300. We've gotten a lot of attention in the few weeks it's been listed. So we'll see how high it sells, but we bought it at 150. So we're going to make a good spread on that one way or another. It's just, do we sell it at 300? Do we sell it at 350? We'll see. But yeah, that's going to be a good one.
I've had a very similar situation with a
Mm.
10-acre before, of physical access, guarded by two neighbors with a gate, and yeah. Anyways, we needed legal access. But so, you hired a processor to do that, and
A
is that what you
process server, that's somebody that you
processor?
hire to serve people lawsuits generally.
Ah,
But
okay,
they're accustomed to knocking on people's doors and doing things that scare most people, confrontational situations. So
right.
that's why I emphasize to them, hey, this is not confrontational. I'm not serving him a lawsuit. Make that clear. We're just trying to get this letter to him.
You can tell how Canadian I am because we just don't do that up here.
Oh, yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
okay, got you. So how did that letter look like? I'm sure there are people in that same boat. And did you feel like you had to sort of walk on eggshells with this? Like, I mean, it wasn't even a backup plan. I would have been super nervous about this. So, what did that letter look like, and what was that process like itself?
So we're doing more of these right now, working on the same thing. And the focus on the messaging is, hey, it's about the seller. We don't talk about ourselves. And so
Mhm.
we said, hey, your neighbor, I won't say their name, but the Smiths, who you probably know, their family's been here forever. We knew that the guy we're sending this to was older. The Smiths are trying to sell their land. They just want to get out of it. They need the money, but they can't. They have a road. It's been there for generations, but unfortunately, there isn't the legal paperwork to make that road official. Would you help them sell their land by signing this? So made it all about the seller getting their money, not getting stuck with the land, and that resonated with him. So I didn't even have to offer him money or anything.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, well, you guys heard it here. You guys know now how to go about it. Talk about the seller. Awesome. Any other challenges with this property, and how long was this entire deal cycle?
We got that one under contract in August, and then we didn't successfully get access and close it until right before Christmas.
Oh
So
wow.
about
Okay.
4.5 months. And again, it's not full cycle yet. We'll see how long it takes to
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good one way or another. It's just exactly how profitable it end up being. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, and then to answer your question, just my initial what am I trying to say? Take some time and let's say you come up with a solution to a problem, whether it's an access issue, a title issue, whatever issue, and talk to other people outside your industry. Bounce back and forth ideas off of some of the AI models, and you can come up with new ideas. At first, it didn't occur to me to hire a process server to go to this guy's house. Right? We sent the certified mail several times. We did
Right.
all the phone calls, no success, and we were getting to the point of, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to solve this. And then I got that idea, I think from a TV show, actually. I saw a process server on a TV show on like, it was a law, some show about lawyers. And I'm like, oh, I should use that for this land deal. And it didn't even occur to me. I'm like, let me do this as one last ditch effort. And it worked. So, in the future when I'm stuck, I'm we have one right now we're not making progress on. So I'm
Yeah.
talking to all the Chat GPT about it. I'm talking to all my friends about it, just trying to come up with outside the box solutions. If
Yeah.
there's a 6-figure margin, don't give up easily.
Right. Would you have gone as far as to go there yourself?
Probably not, because I'm just confident I would get somebody else to knock on the door, whether it's one of the realtors or just paying someone who needs money on Upwork or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So probably not. But he's not too far from where my parents live, so you never know.
Are process servers like always up for hire? Is that normal or?
I had one tell me that they wouldn't do it, so I think I reached out to 3 of them. One didn't respond. One said they wouldn't do that specifically, and then one's like, "Sure, I don't care, we'll do it." So, okay.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, Dan, what are you currently what what are you currently struggling with, or maybe experimenting with? Anything you're currently putting a focus and attention to?
Yeah, trying to duplicate the 640-acre project I told you about in the Carolinas. So,
Mm,
we're buying another 310 acres in a similar area in Colorado right now. I know that area like the back of my hand because I lived there for quite a while,
yeah,
and I see plenty of companies doing the same thing in the Carolinas, but when you're going to somewhere, it's not new. I've done tons of deals, but I haven't done any, 200 or 400 acre subdivides in the Carolinas. And so it's intimidating because I don't know quite as much about soils down there. I'm learning still about how to properly value timber tracts and timber,
Hmm.
hunting, right? A lot of these properties that I see people doing these subdivides, it's ultimately being sold to hunters and recreational buyers. And I don't know that asset as well as I know these large lots in Colorado that are going to be used as homesteads. And so there's a little bit of a barrier and a fear there because you don't know what you don't know. And so working on doing my first large subdivide where most of these lots are being sold as recreational or hunting tracks in the
Wow.
Carolinas. That's top of my list. I mean, we have one we're negotiating in South Carolina right now, but I am
Yep.
struggling with it a little bit because I just don't have quite the confidence level with that sort of product as I do with, the large tracks in Colorado that, I understand everything that goes into the water rights and the well, the septic, etc. There's still a little knowledge gap there in the Carolinas, or at least I feel like there is. I have good people on my team, but it's still intimidating.
And I want you to hold that thought. I mean, for someone as experienced as you are, you even feeling intimidated about certain kind of projects, how does one go about figuring it out? What are you doing? Who are you talking to, and how are you learning? Because I think this is all part of entrepreneurship is figuring out these things, and no matter what stage you're at. So how are you going about it?
A competent local broker is really, really important. The one that we're negotiating right now, the realtor I already had in our system that we reached out to, it turned out, oh, his broker has a bunch of rentals in that market and knows the listing agent. And so this one was especially appealing because we had an intimate knowledge of the area. Number two, it's a simpler one where it's just a really clean lot, no wetlands, no flood zone,
Mm.
flat, nice road frontage, right? It's an easier one. I'm not starting with something complicated where we're building roads. Uh,
Yeah.
Really simple. Number three, just being really conservative on the first one as far as how low we need to get it to buy it. Number four, structuring it in a way where I have little risk on the capital, right? So giving away equity as opposed to taking on any sort of debt on it. So
Mm.
those are my ways. The local expert, simpler deal, really conservative on my numbers, and structuring it in a way that if it takes a long time to exit, that's okay. Um, is how I'm going about it. And yeah, we offered 750 on Friday. It's listed at 1 million. They came back at 960, and then we came up to 800 and got them down to 9. And then we sent them proof of funds just to, solidify in their head, hey, this is real, but didn't come up. And then the agent says, oh, well, I think I can get them to 850. So I'm seeing if we can get them a little closer to 800. And I think that one's well worth doing. Um, but yeah, that's how I'm looking at it.
Awesome. Okay, couple more questions here, Dan.
Okay.
You moved away from infill lots.
Mhm.
You're working on rural, land now. Uh, do you have, I mean, would you like to go back to infill lots, and when do you foresee that sort of happening?
Yeah, so again, we haven't stopped completely. We've still bought and sold a lot of infill lots. It's a percentage, right? How much of our marketing spend and our time is going towards rural acreage versus infill, and it's just shifted heavily towards rural acreage. So we've continued to flip infill lots, um, still doing the marketing, and I think it's just largely market cycle dependent. It's
Yeah.
the 12th of January. Interest rates have ticked down. I'm seeing a pickup. I'm anecdotally hearing a pickup in a lot of places. If that continues, if builders' inventory gets absorbed, they're all going to be looking for new lots. So I'm kind of trying to keep my finger on the pulse, and I do that, both with anecdotal evidence in my own business, but then also talking to all the realtors we worked with over the years in different markets, and then we'll adjust our marketing accordingly. So I do miss the simplicity of infill lots, but I've never gotten a 100K spread on an infill lot, and I have done it with these large tracks. So I think a mix of both is nice because generally the infill lots are a little more liquid.
Sure. Okay. Last time we talked about, I believe we talked about the end game for you is that, flipping was sort of a giant marketing funnel for you to build your rental portfolio. Does that still hold true? And given, the way that interest rates are right now, and the housing market has, your buy and hold criteria changed at all, or are you sort of holding off right now? What does that look like?
Yeah, not a whole lot has changed. It's similar to land business where it's more a matter of learning and refining as I go. And so the longer I do this, the more I just want nice new rental properties. I don't know again exactly when we spoke, but I built a new duplex and just kept it.
Yep.
And just the type of tenants that you get in that sort of product. Or I have a nice, my personal house in Colorado, I rented out when I left, and I had a tenant move out of that, and I didn't even have to clean it. They cleaned it so thoroughly and left it so I didn't have to do anything. It was just ready to be
Yeah.
shown. You know, the duplex. Here's another anecdote, and there's a reason I'm telling it. We'll get to that. I messed up, or my property manager messed up. She placed the tenants, and she put that they were not responsible for the landscaping. And they reached out. Oh, why haven't you, sent the mower? The grass is getting long. And I go, oh gosh, that was a mistake. It was supposed to be your responsibility, but I'll send someone because it's not your fault. And they just go, no, you've been great. We'll just pay for it. And so, like, when you hear people talking about the awful part of property management, it's probably because they own crap properties in crap area that they don't take care of, and they don't screen their people. If you have new, or not necessarily new, but very well taken care of, B plus A properties, it's
Yeah.
just a different game. The tenants you can get in it, it's mostly passive. It's not a headache.
100%.
And so, to answer your question concretely, yes, I'm just continuing to buy and or build nice properties, but I'm way more concerned about the location and quality of the property than I am with the projections. And to be clear, they need to be making money, but I would much, much, much rather have a nice property that truly breaks even every month than something that cash flows but is, 60 years old in a C neighborhood. It's just not a game I want to
Yeah.
play. I have a bunch of friends that own a lot of apartments, C-class apartments. I do not envy them at all. So,
I love it. Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show, kicking off the year for us, and giving us an update. Again, if you guys want to head back to our previous show, it's episode 107. We're going to be launching this one here soon. Dan, thanks so much for your time and again, sharing with us what's going on with you.